Yes. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? So everybody's online now. Um, Before I get started, I want to say um, sometimes I felt like I was an absentee dad or a remote control dad. I had kids in different households, and I was trying to be in 7 places at 7 times, or so it seems. Um, but all the jobs that I was working to try to take care of this one and that one and that one and this one and make sure that they had. Um, so, one of my greatest joys in being a grandfather and even a great grandfather at this point, and being young enough to still be a instrumental part of my children's lives, is the rewards is so great. It gives me a second chance to do some things. I love you too, baby girl. Um, I'll just say this. I'm having this conversation with my granddaughter here. She comes to my show quite often. My grandsons have a tendency to watch me after the fact, and sometimes they call me. I've not been able to, mainly because I moved and I'm working on getting my household together. But I haven't had a chance or an opportunity. I haven't taken the time to get to New Orleans and Atlanta and Alabama and those places where my kids and my kids' are, and be a more instrumental in their lives. But this morning, my grandson called me, and he wanted to check on me, and it made me feel good. And it's not saying that you don't, Tarion. It's because I don't know. I guess I needed it. I really needed that. So I'm going to reach out, um, and we need to talk. But it does my heart so much good when um, my children make sure that I'm an instrumental part of my grandchildren's lives, and they come to me for support. Sometimes they come to me because they just want to talk. Sometimes they come to me for advice. And it has a lot to do with where the show is and why I do this show. I always talk about, you know, us, and I'm hard on us because as elders now we have a responsibility, and this is one of the ways that I try to fulfill that responsibility, and trying to educate the masses, because one man can start a change, but I think I don't speak everyone's language. And when I think about, and I'm not religious, but I'm very spiritual. Um, when I think about my message going out and reaching one, and you bringing it to somebody else in your words, you interpret the message and you make the message grow, and that's what it's all about. Because all of us are at an age, whether you're 25, 27, 37, 47, 67, we're in at an age where we should be looking at what we can do for someone other than just ourselves. So that's my motivation. I had somebody ask me about how much, and I get tired of this question. Someone just put it out there. How much does a podcast charge, a pay, or whatever, whatever? And I could monetize my podcast. I've been approached about sponsorship, and I turned it down. Because I truly am blessed that I don't have to depend on this. So I don't have to sell my show um, to someone who's going to tell me what I can say and cannot say. And one of the revelations that I had today, CNN did a story on AT&T, and AT&T being one of the sponsors for Oranon. Now, this is one of those radical groups that promotes all of the big lie and the conspiracy theories for not what I just call Donnie and his disciples, but everything that's what I call anti-democratic. So it is what it is, people. But that's one of the reasons I don't want to sell this show. That's one of the reasons I'm not seeking sponsorship yet, because I want to be able to say what I say the way I want to say it, or I feel compelled to say it. And that's what it's about, dispersing the word. So before I go off on a tangent, I would just say good evening to everyone and welcome to the show. As always, I want to thank you guys for spending your Thursday nights with me. As always, I am truly humbled and my heart is truly heavy that you choose to spend this time with me. Of all the things you could be doing, you choose to be here. And when I feel like I feel tonight, I feel sometimes like somehow I may have let you down. Maybe something else I could bring to the table. So that's kind of where my head is. My show is called Omit the Logic. I got something to say. And along those lines, I always say this shit makes no sense. My name is Hank Batiste. I'm your host tonight, and the voices in my head are profoundly silent and out of words. Last week, with all the hate groups dominating social media and the revelation from the whistleblower that Facebook has algorithms or programs, if you will, that focuses on sensationalism and some of this hateful rhetoric, because this tends to make other people participate and tune in more. So instead of being on Facebook for 10 minutes, you may wind on being on Facebook for a couple hours just with the back and forth. So this whistleblower was talking about how Zuckerberg is using Facebook as a medium, utilizing profits over what's best, namely for our children and us as a society. So after I went off air last week, I received a disclaimer from YouTube and from Facebook about community standards. So this week I decided that I would put out my own disclaimer and just say, this podcast is my interpretation, my analysis, and my conclusion based on my own research of various current events, historical sources, and newspapers, online sources, the BBC, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I go to all of these different sources to get a world view. And then I try to give you a historical perspective, because I feel like a man or woman who doesn't know the history is doomed to relive it. So I want to try to avoid us having to live or relive some of the pain that was burdened on our ancestors. Though I give you this disclaimer, I always give you a second disclaimer that sometimes I'm a little passionate in how I present this material to you. But let me just go online and say this. Um, I say online, but I mean on the record. Let me just say this: I do not advocate violence. Every week, I have someone who asks me these questions, and I say this: I'm serious about what I do. This pays me in ways that are not monetary. This pays me in ways of me making a difference for my granddaughter and my grandsons and your granddaughters. So when you guys reach out to me and you let me know that something is working, you're giving me that feedback, I know that I'm doing the right thing. But a lot of times I feel like maybe I should have given you more here or more there. So let me bring it back. Tonight we're going to talk about, and this is why my heart is so heavy and I have this confusion going on. Tonight we're going to talk about why we should get engaged and stay engaged and excited. We're also going to talk about when others get engaged in the political process. I'm doing this because I want to grow this into a political action committee or a think tank that represents the needs of you and I. And I look at us as everyday people. So tonight's show is called We're Missing the Big Picture. My name is Hank Batiste. I got something to say. Let's omit the logic. This shit makes no sense. Let's do it. This shit makes no sense. When I see what's happening now, I broke it down and I say there are a few different types, but I broke it down to three major types of delusional Donnie disciples. The first type is they know his rhetoric is bullshit, but they go along with it because it kind of pads their 401k, or they may have some money invested in a company and they see dividends on their balance sheets or whatever. The second one is the those that use his jargon and his hateful rhetoric for their own personal political ambitions, i.e., the Moscow Mitch, what I call Catastrophe Kevin. Because on the night of January the 6th, we all so eloquently heard him say, "Who the hell you think you're talking to?" And now his ambition to be Speaker of the House, he's willing to make this deal with the devil, that being the orange one, the delusional one, the despicable one. And the third is the most dangerous. The third is the poor and those folks that are delusional themselves. Most of them are white, but they're not all white. They never got over Obama being president. They feel like they've never had anything. They come from generations of not having a pot to piss in and a window to throw it out. So how dare us calling ourselves, and I hate to use this term because, excuse me, a political group has hijacked this term for their own political agendas. But when I think of the term progressive, I think of those people who are actively trying to make a difference, not those people who have come up with a new party within a party to make names for themselves and say they're working for you and I, but the way they're working does not profit you and I because they're gambling, losing everything. They're gambling, losing everything to make a name for themselves because this was the quote unquote platform that they ran on. Those poor, delusional white folks and other folks who swallow all of this hateful rhetoric, hook, line, and sinker, those are the people that would be willing to burn this country down. Those are the people who stormed the U.S. Capitol on January the 6th. Those are the people that would do anything that he said do simply because, not because it profits them, because it negates or takes something from us. So it's that third group that we definitely have to deal with. I don't say worry about, but deal with. So speaking of the disciples, today was the deadline, the final day by midnight of four of Delusional Donnie's closest henchmen, or his disciples, his cool conspirators, not co-conspirators, but cool conspirators. And if you've been paying attention, they're loosely referring to it as a coup attempt now. I've been saying this since day one. When it happened, I say that this was a failed coup attempt. Of these four despicable disciples, of these four of Donnie's closest coup conspirators, I'm going to talk about one in particular, Steve Bannon. Bannon, everything about this man reminds me of evil personified. Bannon is so bad that he did not get along with other Trump disciples. That's why he was kicked out of the White House staff. These four people were advised by their attorney, or Trump's attorney, or someone's attorney, to ignore a congressional subpoena. And then I hear the media talking about the possible consequences, like Congress is somehow powerless. So you mean to tell me four people that we know who are not hiding have been subpoenaed, and they haven't turned over any evidence that they've been compelled or ordered to turn over? And now they're talking about not even showing up to the congressional committee that's investigating January the 6th in a failed coup attempt that the media insists on calling an insurrection. I'm not going to even say it, but you know where my head is. So now they're trying to call it a coup. So what should happen now? Let me just say this. My heart is heavy because I am, just like you're tired of hearing about it, I'm tired of talking about it, because I said on January the 20th, when little Amanda stood up there and talked about all of the promise that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris brought to the White House, you guys jumped on me because I was the spoil sport. I was the one who couldn't bask in that so-called happiness, because I knew in that piece I say Brutus and the killers are hiding in plain sight. I said I was aggravated and I was pissed off to the utmost of pissosity, because even though these people were guilty, they would never, they would go on, they would lie their way to go on and wreak havoc for another day. So the thing that I hate about the 24-hour news stations is it inundates us. It bombards our consciousness with all of this nonsense to the point where we're just tired. We beat up. Just let them do what they're going to do. And Black folks are the first ones to say, well, let's just leave it in God's hand. Mm-mm, mm-mm, mm-mm. Delusional Donnie and his disciples were willing to burn this country down to remain in power. But what pisses me off to the utmost of pisiosity is that the coup continues and they are still there. Those people are still wearing congressional pins on their lapel. This man is still holding rallies and raising millions of dollars. So his most profitable business ever has been president of these United States. And even when he's not president of the United States, he's still profiting from those delusional people, those disciples that are following him off the edge of the cliff. Then I talk about how they retaliate. So this week I talked about how some of our brightest children, we're not talking about Ray Ray and Pookie and them and the girls that's shaking their butts on the stage or smoking crack or meth or whatever they're doing. We're talking about some of the youngest, brightest minds that are in college and they're doing things. And they suddenly disappear. And when they show up, when they're found, they're dead. So I keep saying there's something sinister going on in our communities, and we're blind to it. When I talk about the coup continues, it's as simple as this. By the Republicans' own admission, Trump should have never been elected president. That's number one. Number two, we know how petty this man is. So if, in fact, he gets another chance, we know his next is, there's going to be a Scorch the Earth tour. And he's going to be out to get anyone who opposed him or he in his see as a distractor. But it won't just stop that. This time, he will handpick people, because what we're learning is there were some people who honestly believed in something called the Constitution, sitting in that room, who brought some order and who tried to talk him down. This time, he's going to handpick those disciples that are going to follow blindly and not question, no matter how bizarre, no matter how outlandish, no matter how unconstitutional his orders are. They're going to follow it to the letter. And this time, mark my words, and you know what I always say, so this is my disclaimer for my Creole powers. I hope, wish, and pray that I'm wrong. But this time, he's going to be trying to do away with the Constitution that he's already proven that he doesn't respect, and get rid of the 2 terms for president. So he will truly be trying to instill himself as a dictator. With ultimate authority. Am I the only one who sees this? People keep asking me, with all the laws that he's broken, why isn't he in jail? It's as simple as this. This is my analysis. When I look at all of the information that's out there, the the two impeachments, the oh, we're not even going to go into it. But all of the things that he's been accused of, that we allegedly know that he is guilty of, because he as much as said so. He's just that arrogant. They keep asking me, why isn't he in jail? And it's simple as this. Congress is afraid that that third group of disciples that I talked about, that was willing to burn the country down, they would start some type of civil unrest that would make January 6th look like a walk in the park. Realistically, that third group is about 20, 25 to 30% of the population. So let's just say we have 330 million people. We're talking somewhere around almost 3 million, a little less than that, about 2.7 million. That of that 2.7 million, maybe 1 million of them are crazy enough to start something. Those are the ones we have to deal with. And thus far, Congress has behaved like they're afraid. Every time they think something is up, they shut Congress down. So let's put this into context. Most people don't get into politics. Common people don't get into politics because they feel they get tired of this back and forth. They get tired of the hateful rhetoric. They get tired of the extreme views of those who feel like they have nothing to lose. So our Dems, now that they have a majority, they refuse to play nicely. But this week we saw what accountability looks like. We saw some of Sinema's constituents follow her into the restroom and voice their displeasure with her not representing them as they want her to represent them, and not be a stick in the mud, and not be something that's sabotaging Biden's Build Back Better agenda. Some years back, I heard some of my Republican classmates when I was in school talk about, I went to school for public policy and public administration, and some of them were talking about joining the Democratic Party to sabotage the agenda. Now, I'm not saying that Sinema is a wolf in sheep's clothing. I'm not saying that Sinema is in fact that. But what I am saying, if it walks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, if it has web feet, damn it, it's a duck. Manchin, on the other hand, has his own agenda. He has some business interests and coal and other things that he wants to protect, even though it doesn't represent the people of West Virginia. So he's been in politics long enough where he's almost, not truly, but it's harder to unseat him. So this is the one who Biden needs to, okay, let me take a breath. But Biden needs to be on his behind and be more presidential and say, I am the head of the Democratic Party. You need to get with us or find another party and find some other funds. Depends solely on the coal miners and what have you. to get you back, because you will get no funding from the Democratic Party. So we saw a little bit of what accountability looked like. I'm pleased. I keep saying we're missing the big picture. I know you're tired of hearing about this political tug of war. I know you're tired of hearing about this stalemate when we start to talk about Build Back Better and infrastructure and all of this nonsense and all of this political jargon. I understand. I get it. The game is designed to wear the average citizen down so that they decide to disengage. And Congress can do what they want. And it goes by sight unseen. And the next time they see the congressman is when they're shaking hands for re-election. And we have such a short memory, we forget. See, Sinema isn't up for re-election for another almost 4 years. So she's got 4 years to regain the confidence of those people who followed her into the restroom and told her they were pissed off with how she's been acting and how she's been behaving. But that's how the game is designed. So that's why we're here, to get you engaged, to get you suited, to get you ready to play this game, because I'm tired too. Sadly, when I look at today's Congress, I see less and less Black people that look like me fighting for things that are important to me and mine. Now, I've said this before, and I hate to have to give this disclaimer. This is not about skin color. This is about, if you got 1/16, and we're not even talking about Black blood, we're talking about melanin in the skin. Even if you look mulatto, high yellow, half white, biracial, all of these terms that they use, you're on the outside looking in. What's so crazy is some of these people have children who have had interracial relationships that have resulted in children. So they have biracial and half Black grandchildren. Some of them love them and some of them don't. How crazy is that? Look at Congress today, I see more Mideasterners from various different tribes all over the Middle East, from every faith and background being represented in Congress. I see Hispanics from every country, from Latin and South America and Mexico and what have you, in Puerto Rico and other places. I see them being more populous, and I see their needs being represented more so than some of the things that's going to be important to my grandsons and their families, my granddaughter and her family. These people come to this country as migrants, and they understand the importance of being a part of the political process. So no matter how hard the game is, they stay engaged. They stay energized, and then they become part of the process. But they're reaping the benefits of Black slaves who built this country, your ancestors and mine. They're reaping the benefits of Native Americans. And I incidentally, when I looked at my calendar and it said Monday is Columbus Day and Indigenous Peoples Day. So let me get this straight. We're still calling the Atlanta Braves and the Kansas City Chiefs, but we couldn't call Native Americans Indians? That hits me too. because I got Indian in my family. So we got us who said we're not into politics. We say things like, man, them people gonna do what they want to do. So we disengage. Or we get engaged every 4 years when there's a presidential election. But guess what? 2022 is probably going to be one of the most important elections of the next 6 years because it's going to define who the next Congress is, and it's going to define all of these voting restriction laws that are on the books in the 49 states that we've already talked about. Okay? See, the grand and great grand and great great grands of slaves, now we're modern day. We got a little money in our pocket, and we got a little house, and we driving a little Lexus or a little Mercedes SUV, or we got a couple motorcycles, and we've got trinkets. So we're satisfied with that. We want to be Facebook famous. We want to be TikTok prophets and TikTok dancers. We want to be Nino Brown. We want to be like Cardi B and twerkaholics. We want to be conspiracy theorists who say that politics don't matter. I see us using God as an excuse to not do anything. Don't get me wrong. I was raised in the Baptist church. I'm not religious, but I'm extremely physical with my belief in my God. That spirituality is very physical to me. It moves me. You understand what I'm saying? But my God arms me every week with something called knowledge. It's my slingshot of knowledge. It's my discernment that tells me I need to sit my behind right here and spread a message so that I can get others like me. Like I say, I might, if I have 50 people that tune in, 25 of those people may take the message to somebody else in the exact same language. 10 of those people are going to interpret it their way. So they're going to paraphrase it in whatever language. And that's what it's all about. My God, He gave us the power of choice to do His will, not free will, because that will is not free. Every action has a opposing reaction. I didn't say equal and opposing, but it's up to us to make a difference so that our children's children will be able to have houses and cars and trinkets. Otherwise, they won't even have the right to vote. We're missing the big picture, people. Why is it other racial groups are engaging in the political process and we choose not to? That's all I got for you tonight. I would say go to my YouTube, subscribe, and give me a thumbs up. I don't know if my YouTube is still working, but as I said before, what I'm preaching is not hateful rhetoric. What I'm preaching is sustainability and getting engaged in a political process so that we can make a difference. If in fact I have been silenced, it won't stop me. Give me a thumbs up. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna I'm going to redo my message. I'm going to post it, and I'm going to keep on saying what I'm saying. So, okay. Go to my YouTube, subscribe, give me a thumbs up. If you have not subscribed, do so. If you have subscribed, share with some other folks, because this is not about Facebook likes. This is not about being Facebook fabulous. This is not about, me trying to make a dollar. This is about me reminding you that we have to make a difference. We're missing the big picture, folks. As always, imparting. I'll see you next week. Same Baptiste time, same Baptiste place. My name is Hank Baptiste, alias the Renaissance Man, aka the Rennie, OMITdaLOGIC. This shit makes no sense, but I got something to say. It's always imparting. I wish you love. I wish you peace. Hair grease. Actually, I use vitamin E. I shouldn't have told y'all, but shh. I'm out of here, folks.